Hi, I'm Tyler of The Enthusiasts, and welcome to Under Review, the place where we put the stuff we're enthusiastic about under scrutiny. Today, I'll be putting under review the show that tells you what would happen if your favorite characters came to life, Recreators. Now, Recreators is one of these transported to another world genres reversed. Instead of an overpowered normal teenager sent to a fantasy world, those fantasy creations are brought to our world with all of their powers intact. As I've said before, I'm tired of the many tropes that this genre has to its name. So whenever something shows up that shakes the mold even just a little bit, you have my attention. Recreators' overall story is still what you would expect from the genre. A person summoned to a world and it turns out they're the key to the problem that the world is suffering from at that moment. Same as a lot of these stories. Is that bad? Personally, I'm not going to say it's completely bad. Exposition and world and character building is a large chunk of this series, and if you find those things boring, you will hate Recreators. I personally love it. The story itself is slightly worn out as a whole, but that doesn't explain why it's so engrossing. Really, that should be the opposite, right? But it's perfectly paced and balanced between the build and the action. My only major complaint with this pacing is that the first few episodes of the second half are pretty slow, even in comparison to the rest of the build-up in the series, and it can be pretty rough to get through those 2 or 3 episodes. This is an anime about anime coming to life using the fans' attachment to them. This means that all of the characters that Recreators brings in from its media are extremely strong characters with a variety of personalities, designs, and abilities. The best of the best, so to speak. Given how many of these characters are input into the show, plus the real world's characters, it would be very easy to make each of these protagonists and antagonists a very standard archetype and never have them grow at all. When they're summoned, all of these characters are those archetypes that you would expect. But amazingly, everyone is given their time to exist, to live, and to grow. Given how many of them there are, this is a major surprise. The real-world characters are by far the weakest in comparison. They have relatively little growth in comparison to our summons, aside from the romance, pride, love, whatever the creators are feeling towards their creations. I mean, I can get being proud and thinking of your character as the best, but some of the creators' actions and feelings just felt weird and off. And as someone who isn't anywhere close to being an artist, I can't say if this is how artists really feel about their works or not, so cut me some slack if it is. Now, main protagonist Soda is just plain infuriating. Taking a step back, his progress is realistic to a point, where not everything is solved with some kind words from allies and saying, "I'm going to change." His progress is one of increments, and is, at times, agonizingly slow. I mean, for Christ's sake, just tell everyone what you know about Altair. You remember and know things about her and her creator that your group is struggling to find out. Things that the fate of the world rests on knowing. And even when the others do find out small nuggets that you could easily expand on and actually be helpful, you decide not to tell them anything. Because why? The sadomasochistic need to be punished for someone else's actions that you feel responsible for? Oh my God! See? Pretty much the same as reality. Now, the art in Recreators is very simple and low detail. but it's used so well that each character design looks very crisp, and in keeping with the protagonist being summoned, each design also feels unique. Recreators also makes great use out of 3D panoramic and cinematic shots to set up its venues and its battles. This, combined with the bright atmosphere, makes this show nice to watch, even in the darkest of scenes. So while not the most unique of choices, the art is a safe choice that is executed well. Okay, normally I don't talk about staff too much, but in this case, the absolute best choice made in terms of the series staff would be the hiring of Sawano Hiroyuki to do this show's soundtrack. I honestly can say absolutely nothing bad about Recreator's music. It's not good, it's not average, it is simply amazing. The soundtrack itself is a series of highs and lows that play perfectly into the series' dramatic reveals and tension. And these tracks reach perfection again when vocals begin. Combined with Sawano Hiroyuki's masterful compositions, the exceptional voices of Jemmy, Amy Blackschlager, Eliana, and MPI will make you sit up in your couch or chair and send chills down your spine. This doesn't even account for the two opening themes that he did for the series, Gravity Wall and Shout. I'm screaming something to you, whatever something to me. Both openings are that perfect combination of rock and electronic, and topped off once again by the outstanding vocal performances of TL and Jemmy. If you don't love these openings, then there's absolutely nothing I can do to help you. As a nice complement to these openings are the two main endings, New Look by Ayano Mashiro and Rubicon by Sangatsu no Fantasia. While nowhere near as attention-grabbing as Recreator's openings, both of these endings carry with them a little poppy tune that was needed to lighten things up a little bit. Rubicon is also an interesting backstage peek at the creator's stations, toured around by cute little chibi cutouts of all the creations. Just a small touch like that is what makes this ending so enjoyable. Now, all these things alone don't change the fact that overall Recreators is just another story, albeit a bit self-referential, about beings coming to another world and then upsetting the status quo. Does that mean it's not worth watching because it's another rehash of a worn-out genre? Not really, simply because stories like this are already worn out if you watch enough of them anyway. The real value of Recreators comes from the sum of its whole. Even though it doesn't take any risks, the art is solid, clean, and it is really nice to look at. As should be expected of a show where it has a bunch of main characters, the majority of these characters are quite strong, both physically and in terms of their personalities. And best of all, they grow. and without question, one of the most perfect soundtracks and theme songs to sing along to accompany all of this. The only points it really misfires on are the kind of weird relationships that some of the creations have with their creators, which might be because I'm not an artist personally and I can't appreciate it, and a couple weird inconsistencies in the stories. Like why a 15-year-old is allowed to actively contribute to a government-run plan to save the world. Honestly, no government in the world would do that without some massive credentials for the kid. And FYI, Recreators, you are losing a point for including a recap episode. I don't need a recap. Audiences don't need a recap. Don't waste our time on recap episodes when we can just go back and rewatch the episodes if we really wanted to. With that being said, Recreators gets a 7 out of 10. It is a great series with a small amount of change that adds a little value to a tired formula. Although it could have used a little more risk in the art department to make it a little less run-of-the-mill. Its greatest strength in its characters is also its greatest weakness in the second half of the series. And with a recap episode in it, you're going to lose points every time just on that point alone. So, absolutely watch this series. It is an amazing series if you can sit through a little bit of exposition and world building. This is a staple series that you should be on the watch for.
ちょっとこれどういうこと？マジカルスレイヤーマビか？
こんなおじさんまで私のこと知ってるの？
おっさんが番組見てて悪かったな。
間違いない。またあれだ。どこだ？どこかに違和感が。
And if you enjoyed Recreators and want to watch something similar, check out Gate. Or if you want to watch something that focuses more on the creation process, please check out Shirobako. And if you have an anime you would like me to review, please let me know down in the comments below. And also, please like, subscribe, and share to help support us. Thank you.